Alright guys, the score is 1-0. And we're going to jump into game number 2 between Amazon's Chashway and Storm8's Short Round. The game gets started right about now. Spawn down here in the bottom left-hand corner of Daybreak LE, we have the red Protoss player representing Team Storm8 is going to be Storm8's Short Round. And his opponent spawning up here in the top right-hand corner as the blue Terran is going to be Amazon's Chashway. Now Chashway giving out the big old heart. This is going to be game number 2, so even for those of you who are sticking around, I swear to God that we're actually just playing game number 2. We don't know who ended up winning the series at all. We don't know who won the game or anything. Alright, so no spoilers. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and see how these players decide to play it out. The reality is I actually lagged out in the middle of the game. So I'm casting this one from a replay, unlike the other ones, which are live cast. So that's just a little bit of information about why that is the case. But hey, no harm in it, especially if you're watching from the VODs. You're just going to get to enjoy game number 2 just as if it was any other game. And that also means that absolutely zero lag is going to be possible. So with that being said, we'll see what these players are going to be doing now. I talked a little bit about it before, but Chashway is a Terran player from Team Amazon, currently 2-1 in the After Hours Gaming League, and he is a bit more of a macro-heavy style of Terran. I feel like he really finds a stride in the later stages of Terran versus Protoss, although he has had a couple of issues dealing with very high Templar-heavy Protoss players, such as Amazon tends to have. But yeah, right now he's currently 1-1 in Terran versus Protoss, and I'm really curious to see how he's going to end up doing in this game against his opponent, a Short Round, who, you know, he's a Protoss player and is actually a very, very strong player. Actually, I just want to talk a little bit about his history. He used to be on Team SK Gaming when he played Warcraft 3, so that means that he used to play at a very, very high level of Warcraft 3, and Warcraft 3 is a very micro-intensive game. So that means that, you know, we can probably be expecting to see some really solid micro out of him. And I mean, for a Protoss player, having really on-point force fields, having really good control, especially if you decide to go for some sort of Oracle play, or even any kind of High Templar, plus a Mothership, Time Warps, storms going down everywhere, it's important to have really good micro, and it can really turn the tide of a battle. So we'll wait and see how he decides to open it up, as one of the big things that we're going to be looking for is whether or not the second gas geyser is taken before an expansion is taken. As you know, right now it doesn't look like he's going to be opting to do that. He still has a little bit of time to do so, but in the meanwhile, Chashway going to be going for the 1-Rax expansion, not deciding to grab either of those gas geysers. Just going to go ahead and get up a couple of Marines, probably plop down a bunker when he decides to land that command center, and he's going to feel pretty good. And the Zealot's going to go ahead and chase out that SCV, because the Zealot... Oh, actually, I think I have music turned off. There we go. Zealot going to go ahead and have that black skin. That just means that Short Round, a super high-level Protoss player, level 30. Total badass. He's going to go ahead and move across the map with that Zealot. See how much damage he can actually end up doing. In the meanwhile, behind it, he's going to go ahead and take that expansion. That means that we're going to be seeing a pretty normal-looking game for this. I'm going to go ahead and set myself to busy. Oh. Yes, I know a cat is a type of fish. Alright. Thank you, Pretzel. Alright, catfish is a type of fish. Thank you. Sorry, guys. With that being said, we're going to be seeing 3 racks pop out for Chashway. This is the most normal thing in the world to see out of a Terran player. This is almost just reminiscent of a Wings of Liberty style of play. Probably going to be adding on a couple of things like, you know, some tech labs, or just go straight up to the medevac. Medevac will allow him to do a lot of nice drop play and just really seize at map control for a little bit until Short Round is able to establish a solid defense and eventually maybe even take his third. In the meanwhile, Short Round going to be going for that +1 armor off of 1 gateway. Now this is very interesting, and I'm really curious what he's planning to do with this, as if he could actually just be looking to set up for a very solid late game, as just getting the upgrades this early on could set you up so nicely for a late game where you have +3/+3 finish way before your opponent even has maybe +2/+2 finish. Possibly. Probably a little bit less likely, but it's entirely possible. But in the meanwhile, we're going to be seeing a Twilight Council actually being plopped down, so that does mean that Short Round is going to have access to either Templar archives, or could it even be going for a Dark Shrine. Now, Dark Shrine, really? I just got lag. Okay, this is actually where I ended up leaving. But that was really weird. I actually ended up getting a little bit of lag in the replay. Super duper weird. But I mean, you know, the Twilight Council has been a little bit more popular these days in Protoss versus Terran, just because Dark Templar have been super duper effective, especially if you get a Warp Prism up. You can go ahead and go for some Dark Templar drops, and it is so difficult and scary for a Terran player to deal with, because behind all of that, the Protoss player can just go ahead and take a third, and if the Terran decides to push, he has the advantage of the Mothership Core. Now, the Mothership Core has that good old Photon Overcharge, where he can basically turn the Nexus into a cannon and delay and just shut down so many of these marine pressure timings a Terran player would like to do if they saw a Protoss player going super greedy and taking a very fast third expansion. But it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing that just quite yet, because we're going to be seeing a Templar Archives being plopped down. So Templar Archives being plopped down, and of course, oh, Money Scan going down. Should be seeing that Templar Archives and know exactly what is up. So Chashui gonna have to prepare for that High Templar style of play, as High Templars are just, I have to say, having casted a couple of his games in the past, not his favorite unit. I think it's probably his least favorite unit, as Storm is just one of those things that you have to do such a good job of dodging in those engagements, because if you eat too many Storms, you could just get completely obliterated in the engagement before you have Ghosts. And, you know, I also have to say, a really nice play from Short Round, be able to get up at some really solid upgrades. He's going to be able to get up that charge, as well as the fact that going for that early Twilight Council allows him to start the +2 armor very, very early. And then meanwhile, in comparison, we can see Chashui only sitting on +1 infantry weapon. So that means that he's going to be a little bit behind in the upgrades, especially even for this push. I mean, he might be looking to hit this push timing right when +1 weapons finishes, but that's still a good 60 seconds off, so I'm not sure how effective this is going to be, especially since he's, again, going to be up against +1 armor, potentially even +2 armor by the time his +1 weapons actually ends up coming around to finishing. Now, a couple things worth noting is +1, or I guess a Zealot charge is already finished up, so with a couple additional warp-in rounds, he could actually end up doing a ton of damage to this Marine cluster, but doesn't look like it's going to be the case. It looks like he just wanted to scout around for the third, does not want to be caught off guard by a very greedy Protoss player, then goes ahead and heads home. So with that being said, I'm really curious to see whether or not Joshua is going to feel comfortable going ahead and taking that third expansion. He has it already finished up, could end up doing something of the sort, but it looks like Short Round going to go ahead and scout out his opponent's third expansion. And that is going to be tipping off to say, hey, you know what, my opponent has not taken that third yet. It looks like he might try and be a little bit aggressive for now, as we can actually end up seeing 2 medevacs and a handful of Marines moving their way down into a very peculiar position. Looks like they might want to load up for a drop over into the main base. Is his opponent going to be prepared? We see a single High Templar warped in over here toward between the natural expansion and the third. Another High Templar over here, going to be able to do some nice feedbacking action, and another High Templar in the main. So this looks like a Short Round is going to be very much prepared for any kind of drop play that Chashui is going to be trying to go for, especially with Zealots that have charge and those +2 armor. He should be ultra prepared. I don't think that the drop play is going to be able to be very, very effective unless he gets at an exact timing when all of his warp kits are off of cooldown, and it looks like that actually might be the case, as the double drop is going to be coming in around down to the bottom side over into the main, and in the meanwhile he's just going to be trying to bait his opponent's army over to the top side with just 5 or so Marines and 2 medevacs. Now this could be very, very effective, as we see the entire army just moving over to the third expansion. He wants to be prepared for any kind of push that's going to be coming up at the same time. Storm being dropped down on the drop that's going on inside the main, but the nice, very nice spread coming out from Chashui, able to take out so many of these probes. We can see the probe count has already dwindled quite a bit, and now he's just going to medevac zoom out of there. Managed to keep a full medevac worth of Marines alive, but also managed to lose a couple of those as well. So, you know, a bit of here and there for the trade, but now we end up seeing a couple of those Marines trying to move into the third, see what damage they can do, but nope, it looks like Short Round already prepared for it, and Storm8 looking to be in a pretty decent position. Only thing is, I have to say, is that Short Round is down in workers, and especially with the advantage that a Protoss player will have, or sorry, a Terran player will have with the mules, he has to be very, very careful. He needs to do some kind of aggression and make sure he can delay this third expansion. I love things like, even small things like this, where he delays this Protoss or the Terran expansion with a pylon. Is going to be very, very effective. And actually, Chashui going for yet another drop, picking up even more workers. doesn't look as actually being too super effective, considering there are 2 photon cannons already over there and ready to actually deal with any of those kind of drop plays. And even already has units positioned to deal with the third aggression over the third. So looks like short round should be sitting in a very comfortable position, but again, delaying that third expansion for such a long time allowed him to really catch up in that worker count. As it looks like, you know, even though Chashway had a nice worker lead, he kind of cut production for a bit, only really making 1 worker at a time right now, as you can see over here. And really just going to be utilizing some of those minerals to add on additional barracks and such. Now, we're going to be seeing a nice little push out from short round. He has quite a few as Zealots, actually. And remember, those are +2 Zealots that are going to have +3 armor. These Marines are going to do almost virtually 0 damage to all those Zealots. He's really going to be depending on those Ghost EMPs to take out those Archons and take out all the shields from his opponent. He's able to snipe off a ton of these High Templar. Does take a couple of storms. It actually ends up losing quite a bit, but still able to force out all of those storms. As long as he can get out with a good number of those SCVs, it does end up losing quite a huge chunk of them, actually, it looks like. But still, he managed to snipe off all the High Templar. If he can just get some good EMPs off on some of these Archons, it looks like, no, the flank is going to be coming in. The Zealots are going to clean up everything, and just a couple of units going to be loaded up into that medevac, and it looks like short round going to be able to easily deny his third expansion. This poor refiner sitting at 19 health, not quite even built yet. No chance of it actually going to be mining anytime in the near future. Looks like Chashway on the defensive. He's going to have to go back to his bunker. The Zealots are charging in, but again, +3 armor is pretty gosh darn effective against only +1 weapons. These Zealots are just tanking. They are not dying. The Ghosts are going to be taken out. The SCV is forced to be pulled off, and even 2 Zealots unable to be cleaned up very easily over in the main base. The natural expansion is going to be forced to be lifted, and behind all of this, short round sitting on a 3-base economy, teching up to Robotics Bay, and he's going to be sitting super duper comfortable right now. I feel like short round is going to just be able to take this game right now, even if he is not able to get in, but he is. The supply depot is down. The Zealot's going to be charging in, but even if this was not the case, I feel like short round would just be in a great economic position and a great tech position, and he would just be able to take out his opponent with an eventual contain and push into with Colossus. And now we do end up seeing the SCVs going into the fray, trying to just tank some damage for those Marines against the Zealots. The Zealots are eventually getting cleaned up, but here comes in the second warping round from the Zealots, and the High Templar are also coming in. There is just absolutely no chance for Chashway in this game unless he has the most badass dropship micro in the freaking world. The Zealots make their way into the base yet again, and Chashway likely going to have to tap out very, very soon. The medevacs sitting at very, very low energy. The storm going down on top of the remaining Marine Marauder Bomb. There's going to be the GG coming out from Chashway, as it looked like Storm8 able to take this game number 2. And it's going to go on to game number 3. So if you have not seen game number 3, I highly recommend you go ahead and check those out. I'll probably have some sort of annotation if you're over here on my YouTube channel, linking to game number 3, probably somewhere in the top right hand corner, or maybe I'll just throw it into a random location just to be fun. But if you are done with the entire series, you've already seen the entire series because you are just watching me cast game number 2 for the first time, and you're watching the live stream on Twitch, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Well, actually, thank all of you for tuning in, even the YouTubers. And I will see you guys next time. I'm going to go ahead and hop out of this game. So should be done with wherever the video would cut off for the YouTubers. So again, I just want to bring it back over here. Bring it back over here. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Amazon takes the series 4-1 with some really fantastic play, but Storm8 showing some really fantastic games, as we saw over there. Really just absolutely scary Protoss play in the PVT matchup, and Chashway, I know he was preparing quite a bit for that game. Unfortunately, was not able to take out his very, very scary opponent, who used to be on Team SK Gaming for Warcraft 3. That just blows my mind, and now has an awesome job over at Storm8. So I get very repetitive at the end of these casts, but thank you everyone that decided to tune in. Highly appreciate you guys sticking around, and hopefully you guys will enjoy my commentary. You can go ahead and follow me over on twitch.tv/FearDragon64 and over at youtube.com/FearDragon64. I'm honestly a little bit more active on my YouTube channel. Usually I just, when I have to cast something live, I will cast it over on my Twitch channel. So if you follow me, you'll get notifications when that kind of stuff happens, especially with the After Hours Gaming League kind of stuff. But beyond that, thank you guys all for tuning in, and congratulations, Team Amazon. They will go on to play whoever they end up playing over in the finals in, I guess, a week or two. I'm actually not sure exactly when that is, but please go ahead and check it out over at AfterHoursGamingLeague.tv to find out. With that being said, my name has been Fear Dragon, and I'm heading out. See you later, guys.